Okay, welcome everybody to tonight's continuing education. We have a very, very special guest. Her name is Samantha Davis. She is a certified labor doula, childbirth educator, published author of 2 books, and a breastfeeding and postpartum specialist. So we have a very knowledgeable person here tonight, and this is such a privilege for us. So let's all give her a hand. Yay.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
Okay, take it away.
Awesome. Okay, well, in a few minutes, you guys, I'm going to bring up my slides and my presentation. So Tina, you might have to give me permission to do that.
I think anyone can share online.
Okay, perfect. So I will definitely do that. I'm loading it right now as we speak, so that way it comes up without any flaws. But before I get started, it's really important to me to be able to know the crowd that I'm talking to. And most of us are mothers here. So whether you want to understand how to use the oils just a little bit more in motherhood, which we're going to talk about that too. It's not just pregnancy and childbirth, right? It's motherhood too. So we're going to talk about that, but also it's really powerful to be able to share the oils with women as they go through those transitions in life. So if there's something specific you guys want to ask now, like, hey, please be sure to cover this or cover that, or this is something I'm struggling with, you can put it in the chat box. You can unmute yourselves and ask and bring it up now, or you can even send it privately if you want it to be answered publicly, but the question to be sent privately as well. So I'm just going to wait a minute and see if anybody has any feedback they want to give me before we get started.
Preparing to get pregnant is what Shiying said.
Okay, perfect. Totally talk about that.
Okay. I want to know for the birthing and those beginning days when you have your newborn.
Yes, I'm going to talk about that because that is so important. That's when, we spend our whole pregnancies preparing for childbirth, and then the baby gets here and we're like, oh, well, I wasn't prepared for this part. I was just prepared for the birth.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been doing what you're doing?
So I have been a birth doula for just over 10 years, maybe closer to 11 now. And I attended my first birth as an actual doula when I was pregnant with my son, who's now 9. So that's pretty powerful. Kind of how it started is my sister-in-law, who had lost her mother to pancreatic cancer at a really young age, she didn't really feel comfortable having her mother-in-law at her birth, but she wanted another woman there, and she didn't want like a motherly figure that was going to take the place of her mom, who she really wanted there. And I had been researching like crazy, and was just so excited to understand this mysterious experience, because I actually didn't think I could get pregnant. I had had cervical cancer when I was in my teenage years, and from all the scar tissue on my cervix from surgeries that I had had, they said it would be very difficult to conceive naturally. So all of a sudden I find myself pregnant and just researching like crazy and so passionate about this topic. And then the next thing I knew, I had friends and family asking me to be their doula and come to their birth because they knew how passionate and knowledgeable I was on the topic. And then finally, my midwife and doula a year later talked me into getting certified and doing it professionally, because I was just doing it for fun because I loved it so much. So that's kind of how I got started.
And then was it like a whole new ballpark when you incorporated oils?
Yes. Because my doula had used oils on me, but not doTERRA specific, just what she had. And I remember there were certain things, like she put a drop of peppermint in the toilet when I couldn't urinate. So if you do that, and you guys can do this not pregnant too, if like you're dealing with UTI issues, she just put a drop of peppermint in the toilet, and I sat on the toilet, and it just aromatically helped everything open up, and I was able to use the restroom. And if you're not urinating in labor, we can end up having to do a catheter, because it's really important we're emptying the bladder, because it affects labor. So that one drop of peppermint helped me from not having to get a catheter and potentially have a UTI and potentially have to get on antibiotics and that perpetuating cycle. So I was very excited about that. And I also had extreme back labor. I had something called an OP baby. And that's a baby that's turned the wrong way. So these bones right here, like their forehead and their nose, that's actually pushing on your pelvis and your tailbone. And it feels like your back is being crushed. It's extremely painful. I'm sure there's a few women here who maybe experienced it. It's not fun. And she was using oils that I don't even know what it was at the time, but comparable to Deep Blue, that made such a big difference for me that I love having oils like that on hand. If I have a mom with a baby who's stuck while they're turning and you're just experiencing a lot of extra pain. This is important for epidural or no epidural too. So yeah, game changer. And now I work with moms all the time and they're like, where were you in my first pregnancy? And I'm like, I don't know, sister, but you got me now. So we're good. Awesome. All right. Any other questions, you guys, before I bring up my slides? Anything else you want to bring up or point out? Okay. Let me go ahead and hit share screen.
Well, what oils can help you conceive?
We're going to go over that as well.
Okay. Oh, Regina says you must have started when you were 10. You look like you're 20 here.
Thank you.
Tina, did you get my text real quick? Okay.
Yes, I will do that. Do you need the link or just the number?
He's just having trouble logging in. So he thought maybe if the invite in email might help. I don't know. Just send it to
I have
me.
to create a link then. Let me do that. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Okay. You guys, I am working from home and do have a family. So if there's background noise, I apologize. Give me grace, but I'm going to try to keep it as quiet as possible for you guys. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So this particular presentation I wanted to share with you guys because when I spoke with Tina about what would serve you best, you know, we had different things like what can we do immediately postpartum, and also, you know, what would be great for pregnancy and childbirth or getting pregnant. And we're going to touch on all of that. I'm going to give you guys my recipes, some of like, which is really good content, and why my approach is the way it is. Because you might notice my approach be slightly different than others. But all of it is motherhood and all of it is supporting women. So I really want to make sure that we're also covering that as an umbrella. So that's why I named this particular one Motherhood, Pregnancy, and Postpartum, because it's all a journey. So I'm really excited to share this one with you guys. I think you're going to love it. Tina already did a fabulous job of introducing me. This photo was taken before I was pregnant with my second. But this is my son, Russell. And he's the light of my life. I shared with you earlier, I did not know I was going to be able to conceive the way I did. And he just changed everything for me. You know, I always thought I was going to be like that academy mom, and my kids would speak, you know, 7 languages by the time they were 4. And I just expected to raise my kids the way that I was raised. And Russell taught me so much. He's loves to be outdoors and he loves to be in nature, and he learns best outside of the classroom. And he really taught me how to be a mother. And throughout that journey, connecting with other women and with other mothers, I would hear stories about women who they would give birth. And it's not that they didn't love their children, because of course we love our children, but even years after becoming a mom, they weren't feeling like themselves, and they just wanted, the phrase that I would constantly hear is, I just want to be myself again. I just want to be who I used to be. And what happens in our culture is with the birth of a mother is actually, there's a death that happens as well. We have to go through the process of mourning the woman we were before we became a mother, because you're never going to be her again, right? And that's okay. But we still want to be able to find ourselves outside of being just a mom. You know, who is Tina? Who is Linda? Who is Samantha outside of just being a mother? Because while it's the world's most admirable and honorable job, we still have other work that was put on our heart and part of our calling, right? We still have much to do. So we're going to talk about what that looks like and how we can support that as well. So I shared a little bit about my journey and how long I've been doing this for. I love this photo. This was taken by a birth photographer. In fact, I think like almost like the majority of photos taken at births by birth photographers of me, I look very exhausted and I'm like falling asleep as I'm applying what we call the double hip squeeze and counter pressure. So this is a mama who ended up in an induction, which is a very, very difficult labor. So I really try to avoid inductions unless absolutely medically necessary. And I was putting lavender and copaiba on her lower back. She was sitting up and I was just resting and leaning into her and giving her all my energy. And this photo was captured and it reminds me of that process that sometimes we let go of in labor, where if you go back and talk about your birth story, somebody may tell you a very different version of what you remember. And that's because our experience is very different than what other people have seen. And also because what ends up happening is our brains protect us from how intense that experience is. So that way we'll be like Tina and keep doing it over and over again. So we forget just how intense these moments are, you know? So that's what this photo reminds me of. And I love that the photographer captured me using oils in this labor. We are both on day 3. None of us had slept. And this is right before I looked at her and very lovingly told her that I think it was time for her to get an epidural. And she was so upset and so shocked. But the reason I'm telling you guys this story is I want you to understand that there's a time and a place for medicine. And I am not anti-Western medicine, especially things like surgery. You know, if your arm gets cut off, there is not an oil that's going to reattach it. It's just not. There is a time and a place for things. And for this mama who hadn't slept in 3 days, she really needed that epidural so she could take a nap and get some sleep and get some rest and let her body recover. So that way she had some energy when it came time to push her baby out, because really her main goal was to avoid having a cesarean if possible and to have that vaginal birth experience. So I want you guys to know that while my approach is to teach women how to tune in and how to support themselves and how they can care for themselves properly, know that there is a time and a place for Western medicine as well. All right, so let's start with womanhood and the divine feminine. So this is super important if you are wanting to deal with fertility. Now, whether you are a teenage woman coming into her womanhood, or you are looking to get pregnant for the first time, or you are looking to not get pregnant, which really important that we understand how hormones in our body works if we don't want to get pregnant as well, okay? Or if you're getting ready to go through the seasonal change and you're perimenopausal and getting ready to deal with menopause, understanding and supporting your fertility and your body's natural process is as important as possible. So in order to protect and respect and honor that fertility process, there's 3 things we need to do. The first thing is foundation. So whole food vitamins, really important. I'm a huge fan of our lifelong vitality supplements. As long as you're taking a full dose and eating healthy, they are approved as prenatals. I may recommend an additional DHA or additional vitamin D, depending on where you live and your lifestyle, okay? For vegans, there is a vegan version, and I do recommend adding in just a few other supplements. So if you're vegan, just make sure to drop it in the chat box and I can give you additional recommendations as well, okay? Digestive enzymes are so important, especially when you're pregnant, because your baby's initial immune system is being trained by your immune system. But even when you're not, most people don't realize that infertility is actually an issue that's starting in the gut. It's a gut health issue, okay? And it's really important that we talk about how to support that gut health. one of the most preventative measures you can take is taking digestive enzymes, so you are digesting properly, along with a healthy diet, okay? I love the grounding blend, which is Balance. It's so good for you on a cellular level, and every man, woman, and child should be using Balance every single day. That is my belief. Out of all of the blends, it is probably the most popular one, or excuse me, not most popular, it's probably the most important one. I'd put it up there with like DDR Prime. So important, okay? The Women's Bone Nutrient Complex, women need a different type of vitamin D, excuse me. We need different calcium than men do. You cannot get that calcium that you need from milk, cow's milk, okay? And women don't absorb it the same either. So really, really important. That Women's Bone Nutrient Complex is great. If you're taking the supplements like Lifelong Vitality already, you actually only need a half dose of the Women's Bone Nutrient Complex. And then the other things that are important for foundational health for fertility are going to be the Cellular Health Blend, which is DDR Prime. And DDR Prime stands for DNA damage repair. That's going to help protect from free radical damage and oxidative stress. If you don't know what that is, please go Google free radical damage and oxidative stress, and then you'll understand why you need DDR Prime. That's another daily oil. Also important for men too, not just women, but we're talking specifically about feminine support right now. And then a citrus oil in your water. I don't care if it's lemon, grapefruit, which is fabulous for so many things, Slim and Sassy, as long as you're not pregnant or breastfeeding. Other than that, even tangerine is fantastic, okay? Citrus in your water every day. The oil works completely differently than the fruit does, right? So you're getting all the concentrated value of the oil and all of those antioxidant value without the acidity, which is terrible for your tooth enamel and esophagus and stomach lining, okay? I know I'm a big citrus fan too, but we got to be mindful of that as well. Then as needed, you can use things that are going to address estrogen levels, which I'll talk about in just a second. And you can use oils that are going to support healthy thyroid levels, like yarrow pom. Okay, so yarrow pomegranate is going to be really great for that as well. And there's several other oils for the thyroid, depending on what's going on with it. Okay, so let's talk about phytoestrogen. This is the big one that I get asked a question about a lot. Tina, I'm not sure if you've educated on phytoestrogen. But this is my take on it, okay? I have a lot of people who are very concerned about estrogen because there are certain type of cancer that can be very, very negatively effective to the body if there's estrogen present, okay? I want to be clear that there are different types of estrogen. There's good estrogen and bad estrogen. The bad estrogens that you are going to get from toxin levels, okay? They can come from water we drink, plastics that we use, stuff in the air we breathe, beauty supplies, and body care products that we put on our bodies, okay, can cause these bad estrogen levels. And that estrogen is what stores in our female reproductive organs. So that's where you have the bad estrogen storing in your breast tissue, your uterus, your cervix. And then we have these really young girls who end up with uterine or ovarian or cervical cancer as a teenager. And we're like, how is this even possible? These are really unhealthy estrogen levels, okay? Now there's good estrogen, such as phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogens are gonna come mainly from plant materials, but you also do create phytoestrogen in your body as well, okay? And I'll tell you before the end of this webinar how to do that. But those good estrogens that come from plants, they actually help push out the bad estrogens and regulate your estrogen levels. You're going to get those things from things like soy. You just need to be very, very careful that the soy product is GMO free, because a GMO soy and a non-GMO is going to completely work absolutely differently in the body. So really important that we're going with non-GMO and we're doing our research on that as well, okay? But estrogen is healthy. You just have to know the difference between bad and good estrogen, okay? We do have a product with dōTERRA that's called phytoestrogen. It can be fantastic if you need more good estrogen in your body. I highly encourage you to do just 20 minutes of research on this topic and it would blow your mind how wonderful it is. And then also you can use an oil called ClariCalm to help increase your phytoestrogens as well. And I'll break down ClariCalm for you in just a bit. Now, the third thing we need to do for the woman is we need to honor what's going on. Your body and your chemical makeup and the stressors you're exposed to and your genes and your lifestyle is very different from mine and vice versa. We need different things. So honoring where am I at right now? My favorite ways to do this, the first way is the emotional aromatherapy blends. I love when my moms will go to that little wheel, that emotional aromatherapy chart, and ask themselves, how am I feeling right now? Right? Oxygen to you first. Superwoman, super mom. I promise you, there is nothing honorable about being self-sacrificing to put your children in front of you. Because when you break down, who is there to keep the household up? Like, think about it, you know? They always say oxygen to you first on a plane. Well, my example of it is think of a man, the man cold. What happens when men are sick? The house falls apart, okay? And you push through it. You have to be very, very mindful of taking better care of yourself. And all of us can be better about this, myself included. I've worked for years to be good about it, but we can always do work. So the women's blend is going to be ClariCalm, really great at regulating hormones throughout the body, but also really great through either seasonal changes like menopause, but also really great when a young girl's getting her period for the first time, or if you're dealing with PMS symptoms. We are not supposed to have PMS. That is a lie. Okay, that was made up by the Midol companies and people that can make a lot of money off of telling you that there's something wrong with your body. When you're dealing with PMS, you just have something called toxic estrogen. It means that your estrogen levels are so high and they're not coming back down the way that they're designed to as your cycle restarts and begins. So again, phytoestrogen and ClariCalm can be great at helping to regulate those toxic estrogen levels. And then you'll notice the other oils here are all florals. Honestly, the best way to know which one you want, the quickest way, is to literally smell them. I am obsessed with the smell of magnolia, but could care less about neroli, right? I have friends that, yes, it's like heaven, right? I'm so obsessed with it. I'm like, where's my magnolia? I need to put it on. Oh, this is jasmine. Funny story about jasmine. I didn't realize how much I love jasmine until when I was losing my grandmother. It is really great for transitioning into the next life. And I was using that when she was on hospice the last few days, and just smelling it, it smelled phenomenal to me. It's also really great as a postpartum oil, any type of transition, okay? So look at these, smell these different ones. I didn't like ylang ylang forever. I really didn't. It has to be diluted. And it really helps with the healthy sex drive. So if you have a healthy sex drive, maybe that's why you don't like ylang ylang, because you don't need help in that department, right? So that's the quickest way to tell, is just smelling the oils. But another way to tell is look it up in one of your resources and see what particular things that those different florals are good for. And if you know, because you've seen your care provider and you know that those hormone levels are off or those body systems need to be addressed, you can choose a floral as well. Okay, so let's break down the monthly blend, which is ClariCalm. doTERRA is such a genius. It literally, every time they come out with an oil, a blend, if you break down that blend, you will see how smart it is. If you think of On Guard and Digestion and the children's line, these really powerful oils that do so much. Let me tell you why ClariCalm is genius. It's called the monthly blend, but really, it should just be called the women's everything blend because it's so good. So lavender in there is going to be great for PMS, stress, and pain. Lavender is also a regular, an estrogen regulator, which is why it's so great for PMS. Clary Sage is a uterine toner, and it helps to balance estrogen and other hormone levels. Clary Sage is so great. Look at all of us oiling up now. We're like, yeah, forget to use my oils. Roman chamomile, we know how calming this oil is, but it's a natural antispasmodic. Very, very important for your uterus and for all of your muscles as you go through your cycle. cedarwood is it's very soothing. It's great for the nervous system. And that one is also a natural sedative as well. So it can be very calming. Ylang ylang is the oil of self-love, confidence, and joy. And it's also a hormone regulator. Geranium brings harmony and balance to your hormone levels. Okay. Also really good for some of our female reproductive organs, great for your skin and your hair, great for detox, which we naturally need to do as women. Okay. Really important for our cycle. Fennel for digestion, bloating, and menopause symptoms. Carrot seed is going to harmonize all the oils, but also good for PMS. And then have you noticed Vitex that's in there? Vitex is not an oil sold individually. This one is incredible at regulating hormones like estrogen and increases the body's natural ability to produce phytoestrogens. Isn't that amazing? So if you know that you have toxic estrogen levels or low estrogen, right? So either too high because they're the bad estrogen levels, or too low, and you're not having a regular cycle, or you're not fertile, you're not dropping eggs, things like that, you need estrogen. And Vitex helps with your body's natural ability. How amazing is that? How amazing it is that we have these God-given, earth-giving, life-giving products that are already right here on the earth, ready for us, right? That give the body what it needs to help it function the way it was designed to, as opposed to when we take a synthetic that's forcing a reaction in the body. Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about pregnancy. So this is becoming pregnant, okay? So these are my top 10 oils for pregnancy. I'm still begging doTERRA to come out with a pregnancy enrollment kit. I keep begging them to do it, and maybe one day they will, but I've created one for myself. So you've got the top 10 oils here. Digestive blend is obviously Digest Zen. Grounding blend is Balance. Respiratory is Breathe. Massage blend is Aroma Touch. This is the unsung hero of the essential oil world. Most people don't know how freaking fantastic and fabulous this oil is. By the way, words are a very difficult thing for me in this pregnancy. So if I combine words and make up my own words, please give me grace. Just bear with me. And then the Soothing blend, which is Deep Blue. Really great for pregnancy as well. In fact, I need to put some Deep Blue on my back tonight before bed. Now, for preparing for pregnancy, I have here the So Female birth prep exercises and visualizations. So these are broken down in my book, So Female, that explains it. And we do have other resources that are going to become available with visualizations that you can actually listen to and meditations that you can do as well. I would say that next to essential oils, this is my secret key ingredient to a really beautiful birth experience. My moms that have done it for years have very, very visibly different birth experiences from my moms who don't. So let me just tell you what that looks like. That birth prep visualization goes something like this. It's you just closing your eyes and connecting with your body and breathing every day and picturing what your most beautiful birth experience would look like. And going so far and so deep into it that you're actually feeling what it would feel like to have this beautiful experience. Where are you? Who are you surrounded by? How do you feel? You know, what does that support system look like? And after you do this several times, so if you're doing it daily throughout your pregnancy, I actually have so many moms report back to me that they get to a point that their visualization becomes so vivid and so real that they're actually crying tears of joy in the visualization. Now, what's so beautiful about this is you have synaptic connections in your brain, okay? And we have all of these normally, they're instilled fears by media, unfortunately by friends and family, by this group of women that walks around in the world. I think they get like paid secretly to do it. They just walk around waiting to see pregnant women, and then they tell them their horror stories. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That group of women. I remember hearing horror stories with my first pregnancy, and I'm like, why are you telling me this? I'm giving birth in the next few weeks. There's a group of women that do that. They exist. If you're one of those women, we still love you, but please don't do it. And Also by what do we see in our culture today? If you watch a television show or a movie where a woman's giving birth, she's screaming, there's drama, her water breaks, she gets rushed off to the ER. There's usually a male authoritative figure there that is telling her what she needs to do to be able to deliver her baby. It's completely backwards. And I'll give you a very clear example of that. There's a few cool documentaries actually that mention this, but there was this group of British doctors in the 1950s, and they were traveling to the Amazon and they were looking for medicine. And they came and they saw these women that would deliver and give birth in the river. And these women were seemingly silent. They weren't screaming. They weren't strapped down. Their legs weren't in stirrups, and nobody was telling them how to give birth. They were birthing together in the river, naturally in water standing, and many of the women after giving birth would go back to their normal lives. Some of them would go back to working and doing what their job in their village was. And these doctors were just bewildered, and they thought, what is this magical drug? They were so excited they're going to make all this money off this thing that they found, right? And what they found is these women are not exposed to anyone telling them that birth is supposed to be a painful or fearful or a negative thing. They didn't expect it. So why would their brains tell them to have that experience? So there's a lot of reprogramming and rewiring that we have to do. And this visualization, along with other exercises I recommend, really helps to work with those neural pathways and literally rewire our thinking in our brain to help our bodies believe that we actually can have this experience. And the women who do this pre-work in pregnancy, they have significantly better birth experiences because they're not fighting throughout their labor to trust themselves that they can do this. Okay, it's really, really powerful. Such a difference. So I'm really big on that one. So I wanted to just give you guys that nugget that's very non-oil related, but you can use some meditative oils and oils that help with victim mentality or fear-based thinking while you're doing that as well. And that's going to help as well. Okay, so look those up, those oils emotionally. Copaiba is really good for victim mentality. Then the feminine oils and blends like Clary Calm, but obviously those florals that I talked about, like clary sage and magnolia, right? Those can be great for preparing for birth. And then I'm going to give you guys some recipes for a peri spray or pads, okay, that are going to be great for healing the perineum afterwards, either from episiotomy, which almost is never necessary anymore. It's very rare that episiotomies happen or they're necessary. So do some research on that, but also from natural tearing and just transformation of what happens with giving birth. Okay, we've got some, I've got a recipe that works fantastic for that. I'll share with you. And then I'm very big on setting up a nursing station while you're still pregnant before the baby comes. So what that means is maybe one in your bedroom and one in your living room, wherever you spend the most time. So mom's not getting up and down as much. Walking as minimum as possible the first few weeks after birth. It's going to minimize bleeding. And when we're minimizing bleeding, we're healing properly. If you're up moving around too much, you're going to bleed longer and have a more difficult recovery, okay? So at that nursing station, water, healthy snacks that are great for helping with lactation, oils, and maybe some reading material, right? Because you're breastfeeding a lot and you need something to do as well. So things like that are really great at that nursing station, having it set up so you're not getting up and down and moving too much, things that you need access to. These are my favorite oils that go in the birth bag. Please feel free to take a picture of it. The WO is wild orange. I love using peppermint with wild orange together layered. Whatever the mama's favorite oils are. If she has a favorite oil she's loved all pregnancy, make sure it's included with that birth bag. Frankincense and tangerine, great postpartum. The motivating blend is Motivate. This can be really great either in transition or when mom is just feeling like, I don't think I can do this. And that happens so often at different points in our labor. It's a natural part of the process of labor. It's the breaking down of who we think we are and our identity and believing ourselves and letting those belief systems die off, right? And the birth of what we're becoming. Again, we're not just birthing a baby, we're birthing a mother. And even if it's not your first birth, you do become a new mother with each new baby. So that process that happens in labor, Motivate can be great for. Neroli is in there, great for labor as well, for keeping labor going in a natural rhythm. If it's being disrupted, especially if mom's moving from home to hospital, there's a disruption that will happen in her labor. And a lot of times she'll slow down or stall out. Okay, that's a very normal and natural. Her body's saying bright lights, loud noises, not a safe place. I shouldn't give birth right now. Neroli and clary sage can be great for getting back into that. Black pepper and basil, also great for pain and for back labor. And then any other discomfort oils like Deep Blue Rub is great, Aroma Touch, and then the Lavender and Serenity Calming Blend. That is everything in my birth bag. And Tina, I cannot see the chat when I'm sharing screen like this. So if there's questions in the chat, if you want to let me know, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, there's a question about, can the peppermint thing help with constipation?
Peppermint can help with constipation. I would recommend fennel or digestion in conjunction with that. And a big one for constipation in pregnancy is Terrazyme. Increasing the water intake and taking Terrazyme, it just helps with much softer, smoother stools, and you're digesting properly, and you're breaking down with those enzymes. You're going to break down lactose and gluten, which is causing most of the issues in pregnancy with digestion and constipation. So big fan of the Terrazyme and PB Assist during pregnancy. Those will help as well. You're welcome.
I think the question also was like, you know, how you said when you put a drop of peppermint in the toilet water, that opens up so that you can like pee
during labor.
Sphincter relaxes. I guess they're wondering if that would help with maybe the anal sphincter.
Yes, it would be phenomenal.
Yes, it would.
Aromatically, it's just going to help everything open.
Okay. Thank you. Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, I love this one. So with each new baby is the birth of a new mother. We just talked about that very briefly. This birth was really special to me, you guys. All of them are, but this one's very memorable. This was a second-time mom. Her first labor, which is very unheard of for first-time moms. Her first labor was from her first contraction to birth, 6 hours, completely natural at home. Very uncommon for first-time moms, okay? And her second birth, she called me and she said, I think I might be going into labor, but you don't need to come. And she lived about 45 minutes from me. And I said, no, I'm on my way. And she kept saying, no, you don't need to come. I said, no, I'm on my way. Because I know how fast you were with your first birth. I'm not taking any chances with the second one. And we're calling the midwife because I know that you're going to have this baby super fast. And she's like, all right. Sure enough, I flew to her house. I got there way quicker than 45 minutes. And when I got there, she was in transition, almost crowning, and the midwife and birth photographer had just shown up and like threw plastic down, and we're like, let's do this. Well, she was on her hands and knees, and she wanted to move to her side. She was like, I really need to move to my side. My back's hurting. So I went and got right behind her, and I was turning her hips to help her move to the side. And as she moved to the side, the baby fell out of her and landed on my lap. Really fast. You guys, I was at her house for like less than 15 minutes and this baby was born. Such a beautiful birth experience. And when I asked her what she was doing, she's like, you know, I did my visualizations every day. She eats super plant-based and super healthy. She worked out all the time, did yoga and walked every day, and she used her oils. And I just think this is just another good example of when you treat yourself well and you trust yourself, your body just does what it's designed to do so beautifully. And this was just one very beautiful example of this. And the birth photographer who just showed up had just caught this photo, and we're just looking at this baby like, wow, you came so fast. The baby barely even had a cone head because it wasn't in the birth canal. It just flew out. It was a very beautiful experience. So let's talk postpartum. I'm not going to spend too much time here, you guys, because literally I could teach an 8-hour webinar just on the postpartum. So I want you guys to take pictures, and I want to tell you a few ones that are really important and why they're important. And if you have more questions at the end, I will absolutely stay on and answer all of them. Okay. This is a very hot topic. So let's start with healing. Okay. So the monthly blend, which was the Claricom. Okay, this is powerful because it's going to help the uterus contract back to its normal size. Okay, which also helps with bleeding. And it's going to help your hormones say, okay, I gave birth to the baby, right? And so we're going to contribute less to postpartum mood depression, which those hormones are telling us that maybe I lost a baby, because we don't go through the normal process when we're introducing the epidural, Pitocin, Cytotec, anything that can interrupt the natural process and flow of hormones in the body. Well, then our body will shut off and not know what to do with itself. So a lot of times we see this postpartum hormones rise, these postpartum mood depression cases rise when the hormones aren't doing what they normally do because something disrupted them. So negative birth experiences, inductions, and not always, but these things contribute to that. Okay. And a lot of times with cesarean, which I call belly birth, and belly birth is just as beautiful, and it has its place in this world as well. It's important, right? Sometimes it's really necessary. We've talked about this in the beginning where I said sometimes surgery in Western medicine is here for a reason, and I am grateful for it. And sometimes that is the case. It is very true. But our babies are not designed to be lifted from the womb. So many times babies aren't exposed to the good natural bacteria from the vaginal canal, which helps with their initial immune system. And they're not being squeezed through the birth canal. So we end up with more respiratory issues. Okay. That normally that squeezing helps get all the amniotic fluid, and it helps with their first expansion of their lungs. Okay. So sometimes we can deal with more of that. And then hormonally, the body doesn't say, okay, I've given birth, I've released the placenta, now I can start creating different hormones that will allow me to create breast milk. So then we can see a lack in breast milk supply coming in as well. Okay. The monthly blend helps with all of that. It's reminding the body you know what to do. Okay. The anti-aging blend, which is Immortelle. This is the blend I use in my famous Peri spray. I don't take credit for it because I actually got it from Stephanie Fritz, who's a midwife who wrote a book on essential oils and pregnancy years ago. It's a fantastic read. And one day I had a mom who had a 3rd-degree tear. It's really bad. And I made her this spray, but I only had so much Immortelle left. So I dumped Immortelle in there. And then I added in a little bit of extra Melaleuca, which is tea tree oil now, to help with infection. Okay. And then I added in a little bit of extra frankincense and geranium. We couldn't get rose back then, so I used geranium because geranium's the poor man's rose. Okay. And I made this in a spray for her, and it is so fantastic. She healed so quickly. Okay. Like mind blown. We couldn't believe how well her perineum healed after a 3rd-degree tear and all those stitches so quickly. A week later, her stitches were already able to come out. It was incredible. And what was left of that spray bottle, we used for chapped nipples. She was able to use for diaper rash when her baby had a diaper rash. She was really able to get a lot of use out of that spray. So I started making it that way, just using Immortelle, right? Because it has everything in it. Immortelle is frankincense, rose, helichrysum, sandalwood, myrrh. But if you don't have Immortelle and you just have like frankincense and rose and these individual oils, you can use those as well and just make a spray out of it. Okay. And then that spray can be used every time mom goes to the bathroom throughout the day. Just keep it by the toilet. Or you can also put it on pads and freeze those pads in those gallon Ziploc baggies. And then you also have the help of the colds, especially immediate postpartum. That's going to help with all the swelling. Okay. Those we don't want to wear for more than 20 minutes at a time. So we don't want to expose colds to the perineum for more than that amount of time.
There was a question, Samantha, if you could share the recipe for the spray.
Yeah, so really depending on the size of the bottle, like if it's a 4-ounce spray bottle, I will pop the top off of Immortelle and I will use about 1/5 or 1/6 of the bottle. It's about 20 drops. So it's kind of hard to gauge that because Immortel's a roller, right? But I'll just pop that off and I'll look at the bottle and eyeball it in a 4-ounce spray bottle, and I'll put that much in there. Or if you have those little pipettes, you can actually do a dropper and do about 20 drops. Okay. Then I add a couple drops of tea tree. You can do about 5 drops. And then an extra 5 drops of either frankincense or rose. If you don't have either one of those, you can do geranium. It just gives it that extra healing. And that's what I would do in a 4-ounce. And if an extra drop comes out or you only have 4 drops, it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. But if you're using like a 2-ounce spray bottle, just cut that in half. Okay. And I do believe I have a slide that actually gives you that as well. And it's in my book as well, if anyone already has it.
Is that mixed with water then, that Perry spray?
Oh, I'm sorry. Really good question. Really good question. So I mix it half and half with either water and fractionated coconut oil or water and witch hazel. So what the witch hazel or coconut oil does is it just helps to mix and bind and blend all the oils, because water and oil don't mix on their own. And you just shake that each time before you use it. And think about the oils that are in here. They're so healing. Not only are they so healing to the skin and the cells, right? But the emotional benefits of them are so healing to a new mother. So it's such a great blend to make. I have so many people that have told me, oh, I put it in a gift basket as a baby shower gift, and the moms just love it. It's a really, really great, and not crazy expensive. I mean, those are pricey oils, but if you already have Immortel, you can make that spray, and the spray is going to cost you like less than $20. I mean, it's such a beautiful gift. It's just really worth it, because imagine the gift that you're giving when you give something like that.
And you said that you could just spray it as often as needed, right? And then you could spray it on pads and freeze them and put them for comfort.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my moms who deal with tears, or if they had an episiotomy, you're spraying it each time you go to the restroom. Also really great for C-section incision. You wouldn't spray it directly onto the incision until it started to heal up, but you could put it on the pads, okay? And it's still going to absorb really beautifully, and it's going to help with scar tissue, right? But that scarring, because the frankincense, rose, and helichrysum, amazing for your skin.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I always have to say, like, I know I'm famous for it, but actually I got the original recipe from Stephanie Fritz, and I just changed it because it's what I had on hand. I only had this much Immortel left. So I was like, I think her original recipe was like frankincense, geranium, lavender, things like that. And I was like, I didn't have all my oils, but I did have Immortel, and that's got all the good stuff in it. So that works great.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk baby blues for a minute, because this is really important. There are 3 types of postpartum baby blues. Okay. So you have the baby blues, which is very normal. This is where for the first 2 days after birth, you are high on life and you are counting 10 fingers and 10 toes and whose eyes and whose ears does the baby have. And then what happens as your first milk starts to come in, colostrum starts to dry up, first milk starts to come in, we see a massive hormone flux. This is much greater than a hormone flux you would have throughout your regular cycle. It is massive to create that breast milk, okay? That's when mom starts crying, usually around day 3, and saying, I'm so upset. She's usually really, really angry with her partner, whether he did something wrong or not. He did do something wrong. And this is where, especially for first-time moms, they look at the baby and say, why did they let me take this thing home? Like, I can't believe they trust me. Like, what am I doing, right? And you just start to question a lot. Usually you haven't had enough sleep, okay? There's a lot that contributes to this along with the hormones. This is normal. It's part of the process. Oils like the emotional aromatherapy oils and Balance can be fabulous for this. Balance is my favorite gift for a postpartum mom. The frankincense in there is so good for helping with depression and anxiety and things like that, okay? Vitamins are super important, because almost always when there's something going on mentally, there is some type of deprivation in the body where our levels are off somewhere. We're missing something. So really healthy vitamins, continue with prenatals. Sleep is so important. I know it sounds crazy with the newborn, but there are ways to get on a healthy sleep schedule. Sleep when baby sleeps. Look into healthy sleep schedules. And I'm not talking about sleep training. Most sleep training is actually really unhealthy and shouldn't be done prior to 6 months or a year. But if you guys have questions on that, please feel free to reach out as well. Nutrient dense diet. This is when we're more prone to eat crappy, easy, cheap food like boxed foods and pastas and rice, and that's fine, but you want to include a vegetable or a leafy green in every single meal. Really important we're getting the nutrients. Enough water is so important, especially for healing and breast milk. Jasmine, so great postpartum along with other florals. And I'm really big on your women's circle. This is where you have a group of women that you can talk to that are also mothers. They're non-judgmental. They've been where you are and they're going to support you in it. And most likely those thoughts and feelings you're having that you think are super crazy or just wackadoodle, and you're like, why would I ever think that? Like something must be wrong with me. Most likely talking with these other women, you'll find that they've had those same thoughts, okay? So there is something called postpartum mood depression. This is different than baby blues. Postpartum mood depression doesn't typically last more than the first few months, but it can go undiagnosed well into the first year of postpartum period. And this is, if we have a negative birth experience, if we don't have a good support system or good relationship with our spouse or partner, these are all things that can contribute, or if you're prone to mental illness or depression already. Women suffered in silence with postpartum mood depression for eons, and it's so unnecessary, and there's so much we can do to support it and help it, and you probably won't recognize it if you have it. So it's really important to talk with the women and the people and your loved ones in your life, so that way they know what the signs are and how to recognize it and how you can support it. Sometimes meds are very necessary in this department, okay? Sometimes they are, or in conjunction with the oils, totally safe to do. And you want to talk to them about approaching you in a really loving way about it, because a lot of times women think there's something wrong with me, and then they go into denial mode, okay? Very normal postpartum depression. It happens. It's how we support each other. Now, there is something called postpartum mood psychosis. It's really important I just take one quick moment to educate on this. This is very different from baby blues or postpartum, okay? It's very, very different. This is where mom starts talking about harming herself or baby. So you also would not be able to recognize this. So if you're expecting, it's important to talk to your partner about what postpartum mood psychosis is, and that it is your loved one's responsibility to carefully, gently, safely take the baby from you and get you the help that you need. Call your doctor immediately if something like that were to happen. Doesn't make you a bad mom. It makes you a very good mom to put measures in place to recognize these things before they could become an issue, because they can totally become an issue, okay? It's just mental health issues that are way too common in the world today, and we just don't do enough about, all right? Okay, and then right there for breastfeeding, it's really simple, you guys, to increase supply. I love fennel and basil. They can be taken internally in a veggie cup or massaged onto the breast 2 to 3 times a day. Just wipe off the areola before nursing. To decrease supply, peppermint. So if you already struggle with supply, avoid peppermint because it will help decrease it if you're sensitive, okay? For pain, you can alternate warm and cold compresses. Please do not start pumping because you're engorged, because it actually will make your engorgement and your supply worse because you're demanding more. So your body's going to create more supply. Reach out to either a lactation educator or an IBCLC. There are tons of free resources online you can find, and local meetings of women that can help support you in this as well. Reach out to some type of a professional, okay? Even your local hospitals will offer free lactation educators as well, okay? But you can also find IBCLCs in your area and tons of support groups, really important. And then the Mama Infinity spray, that can also be the Peri spray. That's what I call the Mama Infinity spray. It's just good for everything, right? And then I also love coconut oil with rose or helichrysum for chapped nipples. Please stay away from the lanolin, which is the sheepskin. It's really not great for you or baby. It's considered safe because it's more gentle, but a much better alternative to that that's actually going to help you heal is the coconut oil with either rose or helichrysum. And if you are having painful latches, if you are having, you know, chapped nipples or bleeding or anything like that, that's almost always an incorrect latch. And it's not going to correct itself until you can help figure out how to latch baby properly. So definitely get some help in that department as well, okay?
This is great, Samantha. There's
Good.
a question about recipe to minimize the appearance of stretch marks.
I have a few recipes in my book. If you have like really bad scarring on the stomach, as well as like something called diastasis recti, which is the separation of the abdominal muscles, which is very common after pregnancy. I'm a big fan of some of the ones I talked about, like Immortelle, frankincense and rose and helichrysum. Those are really, really great. Frank is great for scar tissue in general, but rose and helichrysum are great for the skin and healing. But I do recommend you can make a cream and you can add green mandarin to that. Green mandarin is not my favorite smelling oil. I have a very serious issue with green mandarin, even though people love it. But it's one of the only oils that can help the skin reattach to the muscle, which also helps to reduce that appearance of fine lines and wrinkles on the stomach. So there's recipes. You can Google how to make them. And just add the oils yourself. You can pick up a copy of my book. We're trying to get the ebook out with all the recipes in it. It's just quarantine and COVID kind of stopped us. But there's tons of ways to make it. Really, it's just getting the oils to that area and making sure there's some type of a carrier oil, like coconut oil, that's involved. Because what happens when you absorb oils is they go all throughout your body, right? They service all the cells in the body. But if you use a carrier oil, if it's diluted, just like deep blue rub versus deep blue oil, it's going to help contain the oil in that area so it can do all of its magic in that area. So as long as you're using some type of carrier oil with those oils, it's going to help a lot more and keep it concentrated in that section. Is that helpful? Awesome. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, there was another question about suggestions for menopause.
Excuse me. I need to take a sip. Phytoestrogen is a really big one. I'm a huge, huge fan of it. Clary Calm, even though it's called the monthly blend, so great for that. And any oils that are going to support thyroid, like the yarrow palm, I really love, and focusing on gut health because yes, it is true. There's a change that happens with menopause, right? But the change shouldn't be so intense that it's completely affecting your entire life. That means that your hormone levels aren't doing what they're supposed to during this time. And that's when I start recommending things like Whisper, which is not traditionally my favorite oil, but the oils in Whisper are really great for helping with hot flashes. Okay. And lots of the florals, if you look at them, they all have very similar properties. That's why I say just find the one that smells the greatest to you and that you connect to, because they all have very similar properties when it comes to menopause as well. But especially that Clary Calm and phytoestrogen would be my two biggest ones there. And then gut health, because your gut health is going to affect your thyroid, it's going to affect your adrenals, it's going to affect your hormones, it's going to affect everything else. All right, so before we finish out this next section, I have this quote here I want you to just let sit with each and every one of you. And that's to be a great mother and a great woman is to be great to oneself. So the best thing that you could possibly do is lead by example and help other women see that by letting your light shine, you're giving them permission to let their light shine. So I really hope that each and every one of you learned a few things tonight and you wrote a few things down, oil or non-oil related, that you're going to start doing for yourself, whether it's getting better sleep at night and using oils like Serenity to help you sleep better, or drinking more water, or just being more kind to yourself with all those negative thoughts, okay? Really, really important that we're taking the steps and the measurements to be better all the time. So here are some oils that are great for the mother in general. The grounding blend is Balance. Have that on the nightstand before your feet even touch the ground in the morning. Lavender and geranium. I love taking monthly or even weekly Epsom salt baths with this. You just do some Epsom salt, some coconut oil, and lavender and geranium. That is going to help reduce your stress and lower your cortisol levels. Also great for natural detox and great for hair, skin, and nails and hormones. Okay. Especially when you're getting ready to have your period. This is a really great one. Okay. Pink pepper and grapefruit. Grapefruit make a breast detox. Also great for feminine energy and cellular support and self-love. Grapefruit you would drink internally, but I think it's really important a few times a year to go through a cycle where you have pink pepper and grapefruit with some coconut oil and you're massaging it into the breast, okay? And that's going to be really great for detox. Do that when you are taking care of yourself. Okay, don't do it like during the holidays when you're eating crappy and drinking wine and exposing your body to too many toxins. Do it in January or when you're getting ready to do a detox because it's going to help to push those toxins out, especially the ones that we're getting caught up in our lymph nodes and from things that we've been putting under our armpits, like deodorant. That's so bad for you, especially antiperspirants, because it's clogging up those exit pathways. So those toxins are getting stuck right here in the breast. Okay. Also, please get rid of the underwire bras. So terrible for us here. Really important. Frankincense is here to help remind you of your strength. It supports great brain function. You can put it on the crown chakra or over your third eye, put it underneath your tongue, on the bottom of your feet, wherever it's easy for you to apply it regularly, okay? The tension blend is not available very temporarily right now because they're changing the bottle that it's in, but this is the past tense blend. This is the only oil that does have to be massaged in. So great into the neck and shoulders. Women hold all of our tension right here. It's like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And especially when you're lifting up toddlers and picking up kids and when you're breastfeeding and your shoulder muscles and neck muscles, everything's being weighed down by holding a baby. So I love past tense for that. And also making sure that baby, when you're relaxing with baby or nursing, baby's propped up properly underneath you with either a great breastfeeding pillow or even just some great pillows underneath you to make sure that you're not pulling, okay? The Soothing Blend Deep Blue is so great on the soles of your feet before and after long days. You know, if you're going to be on your feet all day at work or at Disneyland or chasing your kids around, start your day with the Deep Blue on your feet before, and you'll notice they're much less tense and sore at the end of the day. And you can do it afterwards as well. It feels amazing to massage that in. So the Centering, Steadying, and Enlightening Blend, these are yoga oils. They're amazing for mothers. They're amazing for women, okay? The Centering Blend, I'm going to do along the base of the skull, neck, and spine, and on the bottoms of the feet to help center, okay? Steadying Blend over the heart chakra, root, and sacral chakras. And Enlightening Blend is over the crown chakra and diffusing in overwhelming times. And again, you can just smell them. I mean, let's see, right here next to me, I have Align and Anchor, which are the centering and steadying blends. And really great for Anchor is very good for anxious feelings, right? Or feeling all over the place and you just don't feel grounded. But I really like Align, which is a centering blend. If you are working on a computer or sitting at a desk all day, your spine and everything just tends to get really bogged up and we get that stagnant energy. So this is to help with flow and centering as well. Okay. So some additional resources, you can go to www.so-female.com. And this is a website that is not completed. We have a lot of stuff we've been working on the last few weeks to get up there. There are like a few mini e-courses available, but there's going to be a lot of content on there. So please write this website down and check back in the next week or two because there's going to be free content on there as well that will be a great resource for you guys. If you're interested in purchasing the So Female book, which is specifically about femininity and oils. So yes, we talk about fertility. Yes, we talk about childbirth. Yes, we talk about pregnancy. We also talk about the stages later in life. the whole book is just, it's an easy read and it's great for all females, whether you're looking to get pregnant or not, it doesn't matter. It all applies, I promise. Excuse me. You can get that at this website right here, which is so-female.myshopify.com. And there should be a code. I created a code for you guys. It's all caps, ship local, one word, SHIP. I'll put it in the chat, LOCAL. And that will give you a free shipping code. And because we're working on the second edition and getting that published the beginning of the year, we are low on this book. We're almost out of our last round of printing. So I think there's like less than 50 copies left of this one. So if you guys want to snag this one, make sure you go and grab it because that one's going to sell out really soon, I believe. And then I have a new Instagram where I'm going to start sharing tips on feminine wellness and essential oils. And that's at the Rogue Doula. And that's named specifically that. I was given the nickname the Rogue Doula a couple years back when I was speaking at a conference and I was talking about all the things that nobody else would talk about. And I said, that's because like somebody has to tell them about these things. They need to hear about it. And if it's going to have to be me and we have some laughs and fun along the way and we cry about it and we figure it out, then that's what we do. You know, call me the Rogue Doula because I'm going to tell them about the things they need to know about, right? So I just got that up and running so you guys can check that out as well. So I hope that was super helpful and we can open it up to Q&A so I can stop sharing if you guys want.
This was so good, Samantha. This was so excellent. And
Good.
some people that I rarely see on CE are here to hear you. And I think all of us were just so blessed. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put that Perry spray on our Facebook.
Please go ahead.
And because it's so versatile, you know, as a mom infinity spray. I guess the mom infinity spray means that it just is good for all things mama, right?
Yes, totally.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, you guys, ask some questions. Poor girl's gotta rest her body. She's got a baby in there.
No, it's okay. Because you know, I'll just be answering questions and then after that, I'm gonna have dinner and respond to text messages and emails.
That's right, because it's BOGO night. Don't forget your BOGO, guys.
I still have BOGOs to sell, but that's okay.
I know. Okay, yeah. We'll just keep the question answer time to 10 minutes, okay?
And I'm here. I would love to help you guys. You know, I told Dr. Tina that I would do whatever I can for you guys. So please feel free to take my time right now. I'd love to help you guys. And if you don't have questions, if you just have takeaways of like something that's really helpful for you, please share that too. Because I love hearing that. It always helps me when I'm creating new content of like what really helps people and what stands out to them the most.
I actually have a question, if I could.
Please.
Both of them are hair. So like postpartum hair loss. It's like really thin right here. And then this little one has, it's getting a lot better. I put just jojoba oil on, but what oil can I put like for cradle cap to get the rest off?
Oh, poor baby. So make sure you're diluting whatever you're doing with cradle cap. I would just do it with some warm water and a soft sponge and some coconut oil. And then you can add oils like Roman chamomile. It's really good for the skin and it's very soothing. Cedarwood is also really good for both of you. Cedarwood's good for hair follicles and hair lining as well, okay? And then lastly, for soothing, I add lavender and it's just a gentle massage. And I've had moms use the Rose Touch roller there throughout the day if it gets like scabby and it starts to flake too much and it looks too dry and it looks painful to them. It's usually not painful for babies unless it's like really severe, so you don't have to worry about that. But clean it at night with the Roman chamomile and lavender. And then during the day, if you have Rose Touch, which not everyone has it, so that's why I don't recommend it too much. But if you have it, that can be great for any type of dry, patchy, or scabby skin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And also, I'm sorry about the postpartum hair loss. It's just part of the process. It sucks. I'm like not looking forward to it again. I felt like my hair was coming out in clumps for like 2 years after I had my son. And I'm like, no, I can't do that again. My hair just got good again 10 years later.
This is my third, and it gets worse every time.
Oh,
It takes longer to come back every time. So
I hear
it's
that bone
not fun.
nutrient. Oh, sorry. I hear that bone nutrient's very good.
Oh, the
Yeah.
bone broth?
The
Or-
bone nutrient that we have,
it's
Oh,
called
sorry.
nutrient
a
The
complex.
nutrient.
calcium,
so-
magnesium, and it has a biotin. Biotin.
Oh,
helps with
yes,
hair
yes.
strength.
I know, is it rosemary, I think, was studied and works as well as what's like the Rogaine,
So
right?
rosemary and
But I
cedar wood
don't.
work differently. So rosemary is going to help with the like lengthening and the faster growing of the hair. The cedar wood
Okay.
is going to help with the follicle and opening it up. So that's going to give you like
Okay,
that
that's.
thicker hair. So I think, but you can totally combine the two with your shampoo and conditioner. And I really, really love what Tina said about the bone nutrient, because if it is severe, especially if it's your third one and you've been breastfeeding, the babies in utero and the nursing is going to get what it needs. And
Oh,
so if we
yeah.
don't have what we need, it's going to pull it from our hair, our nails, our skin. So just make sure you're incorporating like a nutrient dense diet and a full dose of your prenatal as well. And the lifelong vitality works great for that too. You can also add in the bone nutrient like she mentioned.
I know you don't like to swallow pills. So you can open the bone nutrient. You can make it a powder.
Oh, is it a oh, okay, it's a
Yeah,
capsule. I
yeah.
can just take it apart. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot. Pregnancy and pills are not my friend.
You're like a gummy girl, huh? I could see now. She's like, I did the prenatal gummies.
Oh, no. I'm liquid.
That's okay. See,
Yeah,
something. Yeah, there's
I'm
always
liquid. No, no gummies here.
no worries. All right, ladies, don't be shy. I do that on my calls. I wouldn't do that to you guys because that's mean, but on my calls, I call people out. I'm like, hey, unmute yourself. I know you have a question. And they almost always do, but they don't want to be shy or they don't want to be rude.
I'll chime in again. I thought the input on deodorant was phenomenal. I have never heard anybody else speak of what aluminum does, where you put it, a part of your detox pathways, and it just sits in there, sits right with your lymph nodes. So women, that is huge. You
It's
were
so big.
really
And
gold
then we
tonight,
wear
so.
push-up bras that wire pushes on it and creates so many issues, just like it would if you were breastfeeding. It's going to create those clogged milk ducts. Think of what it's doing to your lymph nodes and the rest of your body, right? It's just not designed. So definitely aluminum free and antiperspirant, stay away from them. You can use a natural deodorant. doTERRA has fabulous natural deodorant. I might say I love the balance, but if you guys ever get a chance to get your hands on the Greek orange one, it's Greek orange and Douglas fir, and it's not always available. I'm obsessed with it, and I never stink with it, even when I'm detoxing. It's such a phenomenal one. So if you have a chance, order that one when it comes out. I'm just gonna check the chat.
And cypress is a natural antiperspirant, so I will drop that on top of my deodorant.
You know how many times I've done that? Like when we're at convention or, we're traveling and like you don't have your deodorant, I'll use like cypress and Melaleuca or cypress and peppermint underneath there with some coconut oil. I've totally swiped that on so many times.
That's awesome.
Cypress is also really good, ladies, for it's similar to Aroma Touch. It's really good for circulation. I love using those too. We didn't talk about that. Love using those in third trimester for edema and swelling. Those are going to be really, really good for circulation. Okay, so on the bottoms of the feet, drinking enough water to prevent the swelling and then lifting your feet at the end of the day, elevating them. Those are really great for third trimester, but just for circulation and blood flow in general as well. And then I did notice, I did have a few private questions I want to make sure that I hit. One of them was oils for infertility. So it just sounds so cliche because I keep saying it and I've talked about it in so many webinars and on so many classes and workshops. But the Clary Calm combined with doing the cleanse the like Candida cleanse, right? So Lifelong Vitality, Terrazyme, PB Assist. Tina can teach you guys about that. You can attend a digestive or immune support or gut health continuing ed class. It is so important that gut health, it affects fertility all the time. It's insane. So making sure our candida is lowered and our microflora is healthy where it's supposed to be is going to affect all of our body systems, especially fertility and hormones. Then additional oils you can add in other than Clarycom. They're going to be like clary sage, right? Individually is really great. Fennel can be really great. A lot of those oils that are good for digestion and hormone regulation. And there are recipes you'll see out there. Like I've seen the geranium one is used a lot. Geranium is fabulous, but really geranium is just helping to regulate your estrogen levels, right? Lavender also does that. So that's why my go-to is almost always Clarycom. And then I suggest meeting with a care provider that is going to run your hormone levels and see what's going on. And once you know where your body's at, then you can say, okay, what oils support this? What diet and lifestyle changes support this? And lastly, the men need to get checked too, ladies. Far too often we think it's us and we think that we're just incapable or something's wrong or we're not good enough. A lot of times men are shooting blanks, okay? They don't eat the greatest. They don't take the best care of themselves. Really important that the men get checked as well, and not a year after a woman's been feeling bad about herself because she can't conceive. Like from the moment you guys decide to try, the men need to check as well. And just get a regular, checkup, get a full physical and just go use a cup and have their stuff be checked as well. So really important. And then as far as like ages of getting pregnant goes, there's no such thing as too old to getting pregnant. Over 50 is definitely very dangerous because our bodies just are working differently and trying to do different things around that time. But let me tell you that I have women in their 40s, all the time clients of mine, that they kind of did it backwards. They had their careers and they lived their lives, and then they found a spouse that really made sense for them to be with, right? They figured out who they are, and now they're ready to settle down and start having children well into their 40s. There's this really disgusting thing that somebody in the medical community came up with where women over 34 are called geriatric pregnancies. I don't know where we come up with these terms. It's just so awful. Yes, you are a little bit more high risk when you get older. I mean, come on, we're talking 34 is being called geriatric. This is insane, right? All we need to do is we need to support healthy hormone levels. We need to take good care of our female reproductive organs. And a lot of that comes from eating well, getting 30 minutes of exercise a day, and taking care of our mental health and stress. It's really shocking how just the mental health and stress makes such a big difference with that. So I hope that's helpful. And Linda said the technical term is advanced maternal age. And yes, that is a technical term, and I appreciate it way more than geriatric pregnancy. But even then, I mean, our bodies are capable of conceiving well into our 30s and 40s, and even sometimes into our 50s as well. Just definitely got to take better care of ourselves, and more high risk just needs to be monitored more carefully.
Thank you, Samantha. Can I ask you
Please.
about, I don't know if it's been asked already, but is there any oils to avoid when you're pregnant or when you're breastfeeding?
That's an excellent question. The only things that I say to recommend to avoid with breastfeeding are going to be peppermint because they can lower your supply. Okay. And with pregnancy and breastfeeding, the one thing that I say is try to avoid oils that help with detox. So like Slim and Sassy, if you take Slim and Sassy, it's not going to hurt the baby or you. Think of the oils in there, like peppermint, ginger, grapefruit, fennel. Like those oils individually are totally safe. But when you're taking them as a detox, like consistently taking Slim and Sassy or consistently taking Zendocrine, we want to avoid anything that our body, when it naturally detox during pregnancy and breastfeeding, it can get into our milk. So natural detox, citrus in your water, totally fine. A forced detox, like the GX Assist, Lemon Sassy, Endocrine, those are the ones that we want to avoid, okay? And then very lastly, this is important to know, and I hope that you guys write this down because it's very important. Clary Sage, that's in Clarycalm, so Clarycalm as well, but Clary Sage and Neroli actually, okay, those two oils can help bring on natural labor. So I'm very mindful to educate. If I don't know a woman's history, if I'm not working with her one-on-one, I don't know her medical history, I don't know what's going on with her, I just say out of an overabundance of caution to stay away from Clary Sage. Because if your body is already trying to go into labor, Clary Sage and Neroli will just help it do that. Neroli isn't as strong in this department as Clary Sage is. It can help the body to do that, okay? So I would hate for a woman who has a history of miscarriage or something called an incompetent cervix, also negative derogatory term about women, but it's a cervix that opens up preterm, okay? And when that happens, I would hate for a woman to think that Clary Sage caused a miscarriage. Clary Sage is not going to cause a miscarriage, but if your body's already miscarrying, Clary Sage can help with that process, can help speed it up. So just out of an overabundance of caution, I say avoid Clary Sage and Neroli till 37 weeks. And I will mention one more that's not ever normally available for sale, but because you can get it right now, whether you call it hyssop or hyssop, whatever you want to pronounce it, in the ancient oils, avoid that if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant as well. But that's it. I mean, Dr. Hill did a fabulous video years ago about why our essential oils are safe, why ours are safe. I will get emails and phone calls and text messages saying, oh my God, I've been using peppermint. And I just heard from my friend who's an aromatherapist that peppermint isn't safe for pregnancy. Completely false. Peppermint is totally safe for pregnancy. What happens is traditionally essential oils are not harvested and sourced and tested to the standard and the levels that ours are. So they have synthetics, they have hidden additives, they're not held as high quality. And when you have synthetics, you have side effects, right? Which makes them unsafe. So our essential oils, dōTERRA holds to a standard that all our oils are safe for everyone. It is not going to cause something that it's not supposed to do in the body, okay? But I preface this when I'm talking about oils and I'm educating on it because you don't want somebody to go to Whole Foods or Walmart and buy oils that say like flammable or do not ingest and use that and think that that's safe for themselves or pregnancy because it's not. Okay. Was that helpful?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Yes. So in summary, it's Clary Sage, Neroli, and hyssop that we should avoid in pregnancy.
Yes. But I will say, like some midwives, you will see actually prescribe Clary Sage during pregnancy because if you have abnormal hormone levels, it's so great for that. Because again, she knows your medical history. She knows you're not at risk for miscarriage. In healthy women, those oils are not an issue.
And also the detox oils that are.
Oh, like Lemon Sassy.
Yeah, and if you get exposed to them, it's not going to hurt you or the baby. But if you're using it to induce detox, to cause your body to go into a deep detox, that's not something you want to do during pregnancy or breastfeeding. So if you get exposed to endocrine, it's okay. The oils in endocrine are safe, but don't start taking it daily. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're so welcome. Just checking the chat.
Really awesome. Thank you so much. We're on 9:30 now. So if there isn't a question, I think I'd really like to just end our session tonight and just give a big round of applause to Samantha.
Yay. Is there a code today, Tina?
Yes, I was gonna say code.
Our code today is going to be, let's see, phytoestrogen. I think you did a great job educating us on that. The good and the bad.
People don't talk about. So I'm so
Right.
glad you
Yeah.
guys learned.
And just how soy, the GMO free is safe.
Yeah.
That's great. Because I mean, there's whole cultures that have grown up on soy.
Yes. Yeah. Filipino. Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Lots of
right,
Asian
yeah,
food.
Asian, yeah,
Mhm.
right, right.
We grew up on a lot of soy and edamame and tofu and
Yeah, right. Dr. Helmer says, good to see you.
awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. I know we definitely went over, but it's always a lot of content to cover. And just feel free to follow my stuff if you guys want to get,
It was
more.
awesome. It was awesome. I'm going to put your little link on our Facebook so people can reference it and buy your book. And is there a time when that code will
I didn't set it to expire,
expire?
so you can get free shipping on it. I didn't set it to expire because, to be honest, it's going to sell out soon. I don't know when. It just depends on how fast
That's
the
so
rest of
cool.
published ones. I
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Okay, that's so cool. Wow. Well, it really was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank
Really
you so
great.
much. I
Great.
love being with you as always, my friend. And everyone have a great night.
Love you. How many months are you now? You said you're pregnant?
Yeah, I'm pregnant. I'm 20 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a bump, you guys. I
Oh,
don't know
how
if you can see
cute.
it.
Oh, cute.
I have a very visible bump.
Oh, it's cute bump. It's cute bump. Okay,
Thank
yeah.
you, friend.
Yeah. Okay,
All
love
right,
you.
y'all. Love you.
All right, have a
Take
great
care.
night. Thank you again.
Bye. You're so welcome.
Bye-bye. I'm gonna start recording.